A lot of people, when you hear the term personal brand, we tend to think social media, podcasts, fonts, colors, logos, maybe what you wear. But the way that we have come to define it is very simple, that personal branding is simply the digitization of your reputation. The digitization of reputation. That it's far beyond just the creative elements. It's a more fundamental part, which is actually not a new concept at all. It's an old concept. It's the concept of reputation. And you can't even say, do I want to build my personal brand or should I have a personal brand? That's like saying, should I have a reputation? We all have a reputation whether we want to or not. The question is just, do you have the one that you really want to have? And how much does this matter? And so what we did is we invested over $100,000 into a national research study called the Trends in Personal Branding National Research Study. So this was a PhD-led, statistically valid, sort of like academic crew going through and weighted to the U.S. general population. So it's weighted to the U.S. Census. So it's not international, but this is in the U.S. And the data points I'm going to share with you this morning came from that study. And it turns out that 74% of Americans say they are more likely to trust someone who has an established personal brand. And so if you think this is, kind of like a fad or like maybe it's gone because social media's been around a long time and we're all kind of like, some ways we get burnt out on it. Well, if you look at the data here, this is going to trend even more so in the future because if you segment and stratify the data by generations, you see that older millennials, those of us who are like 35 to 44, 85% of them say that having an established personal brand makes them more likely to trust you because we grew up with this. And then it's going to hover around 80% over the next 30, 40 years. So this is not going anywhere. Trust is one thing. That's a very general term. So we followed up with a question about what specific areas does having a personal brand matter? 63% of people say that they're more likely to buy from you from having an established personal brand. 57% say they're more likely to recommend you, more likely to do business with you, more likely to seek advice, work for you. And then this one I thought was also kind of fun. 29% say they're more likely to go on a date with you. Ooh la la. Just because you have an established personal brand. That's really interesting. Now we go, oh, well, that's probably true for TikTokers and YouTubers, right? Of course that makes sense if you're an author or you're a speaker. And we said, well, actually, is it only influencer types that matters? Or how is this going to affect professional trades, so to speak? And so we asked this question specifically, how important is it to you that each of the following people in your life have an established personal brand? The number one answer, according to the U.S. general public, is 61% of Americans say they want their doctor to have an established personal brand, which makes sense, right? If someone's going to cut you open, you want to know that it's not their first time doing it. You want to know what other experience that other people have had. But 59% of Americans are saying, I want to know who my employer is as a person, not as a company, as a person. I want my lawyer, my financial advisor. And at first, this data was shocking to us. We didn't expect this. And then we realized, oh, actually, it's very, very simple. The higher the requirement for trust, the more important having an established personal brand becomes.